Heroic Enemy here, coming at you with another discussion section. And what the hell are we going to talk about today?
I think like one of the few topics that just came up in our conversations was the release of remasters. Like basically companies just re-releasing the same product to you, whether it be upscaled HD or packaging all your games in one, all for this wonderful price point of $60. Yeah, there just seems to be a lot of pros and cons to this, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. When you weigh the price of games and like how much their value was when we were younger, it started off around $40 and it's worked its way all the way up. I'm thinking, like, if I'm getting that game with a graphics upscale, it shouldn't be a full $60. I shouldn't be paying the same price. But yet I have before and I will in the future. So it's an important question. I think it says a lot about how we value video games today. And there's a lot of other implications. But I don't know, what's your position on remasters?
It's like case for like each game, I think.
Yeah, case by case.
Yeah, case by case.
Well, then how would you judge? What criteria would you judge them on a case-by-case basis? Like, would it be the amount of games it includes? Would it be like, I don't know, any fancy extras they may throw in there? Like, what would you judge case by case?
I think, like, for me, I just thought of something. There was this game on the PlayStation 1 called Dead in the Water. And it was literally, it was like Twisted Metal, but on jet skis and boats in water stages, basically. And it was like a team deathmatch, and you had like weapons on. I loved that game as a kid, but there's no way in hell they would ever make a remaster of Dead in the Water from PlayStation 1. So I think that's where this case by case comes in, is where you have a game that's really beloved, but at the same time, there's not a large fan base. So it comes into this business aspect. Like, are we going to be able to make money off of it? And if we can't, then screw the fans, basically.
Well, in terms of actually production costs, it really doesn't take too much to invest into an HD, honestly. I mean, they just basically reuse the same assets and whatnot, and just make it better, or just put all the games together. On a development view standpoint, it really doesn't cost that much. For instance, same day with like porting, especially nowadays. Now that everything's still running on the same, practically the same architecture. Like a port, for instance, they've been looking at porting a lot of Xbox games nowadays to the PC, just because they're pretty much running the same platform.
Yeah.
So on a development standpoint, it really doesn't cost that much. It just gives you all the more to gain, though. So I definitely wouldn't peg it on whether it'd be cost feasible or not. It'd definitely be more on what game we are talking about, since of course porting everything is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like what are some like, David, you bring up this case by case scenario. Then what would be your instance of a
good one?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think what appeals to me would be games that I haven't played, or I've never played, but wanted to play a while back, or like I said, never got to play, but play at a better frame rate, better resolution, and on the current generation that I have of console.
So it's like an ease of access sort of thing, on top of the beauty and the flashiness of the graphics, basically.
Yeah. But it's also hard because it's like, if I really like that game, I'd probably want to get it again, because I want to play it again. Like,
yeah.
When I really like a game, I want to replay it again. But
I can agree on the point where if there are games that I haven't played in the past, but I always wanted to play, and I've waited, 10 or more years and never touched it, like Devil May Cry 4 and Uncharted for me, then I would that would guide me to get the game. But when it comes to other games like Last of Us, I was like done with that game. Like, even though I loved it, when they came out the remastered, it's almost like, well, I didn't even have time to forget the game, you know. I don't know. It's so yeah. It's like you said, it's case by case, but I think that a couple of factors to think of when we're discussing like, well, what is a good remaster, what's a bad remaster, and I think it comes down to the fans basically, because with the price we've kind of debunked that it's a bad business decision because you have fans from all over going to get it regardless. But I think that the quality of the remaster, because there have been some remasters that were just horrible, and we're just like, why did you even want to do that?
I think the companies, their main goal is to, or their main audience is the people who haven't played it, or who are real fans who just would buy it again.
Yeah. And then the other one is the response of the people after it comes out. Like, if they do a remaster and it absolutely sucks, I mean, everyone's going to be on there like, wow, this was horrible and a waste of money. And there's plenty of examples on both sides. But I think
if you're a fan, though, I think you're going to still
true.
buy it. Like, I'm going to buy the God of War 3 remaster.
That brings in a whole other issue that we won't touch on about whether or not some of our old classic video games are even like replayable with the type of graphics used back then and the type of game. But that's a whole different issue. But what are good examples of remasters done well and done in good timing and good taste?
Well, I think the one that actually started it was the freaking Metal Gear Essential Collection on the PS2. Like way before, like
that's the earliest example of a remaster.
Well, I don't know if it's a remaster. It was like a re-release.
Oh, because there was not a lot of upscaling to do on a lot of these titles.
Yeah, I think they just bundled the games together.
Yeah. So I guess that's probably a different thing. But that came out right before Metal Gear Solid 4. Those are
And I think some of the really, really, really early like remasterings, which might have just been ports. I'm just trying to umbrella the term. Would be, you remember on the PlayStation 1 and the PS2, the Midway collections, like the arcade collections that they would all bundle together, and those were pretty good because there's no way in hell anyone's gonna go out and buy, you know, every single arcade machine, you know, or one of the bundles. They're just too expensive. So when you offer it for $50, $60, of course it's worth it. If you're an arcade gamer, but
now, $60 for like the same thing.
Yeah, for one game instead of a collection, like, because what are some of the collections run like?
For instance, a good example of actually a really good collection, in my opinion, would be the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection. Like, it gave you pretty much the Metal Gear 1 and 2, Metal Gear Solid 1 through 3, gave you HD port of Peace Walker, and they included Guns of the Patriots. And they put it all within a $40 price point, complete with trophies and whatnot. And on a good day, you can get it for like around 25 or 30, and I think that's like a really killer price at that point. Like, you get all that, not to mention all the nice HD perks and whatnot, the digital comic if you're interested in that, and it's pretty much like you set up games that I haven't played. Like that was pretty much my entry into the Metal Gear franchise, and honestly, it was really good.
And see, that's kind of, and I kind of am in agreement on that, because like I mentioned earlier, the Nathan Drake collection for Uncharted is coming out later this year. I never touched any of them, but I know David's a huge fan of them, and I've always wanted to at least sit down and play through the story on them. That's 3 games in one package, and so I don't have a problem justifying paying the money for it. Still think it might be costly. I think the actual price of it is cheaper than $60.
No, it's 60.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
So it's 20 for all of them?
That's what makes you wonder then. Like, for instance, I got the Uncharted double pack, which was Uncharted 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I got those 2 for $20. And frankly, you could probably get Uncharted 3 for like $10.
Yeah.
Like if you actually just look a little
Yeah.
bit. So we're looking at a $30 price point versus their 60 there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so basically what I'm paying for then, because I already pre-ordered it, is I'm paying for the convenience of having it all on one disc and having it on PS4. When in essence, I could be less lazy and go out and get each individual game. But this is including the graphics upscale. That's debatable on how much you can really put a price on that.
Was there a change in frame rates, do you know?
Not sure. I think it might be 30 frames still on the PS4.
30 locked for that cinematic view.
I think, well, it goes back to people who didn't have a PS3 also.
Yeah. So this is why remasters are, I think the pro to remasters is that it introduces classic, like staples of the video gaming community, where you're just like, you haven't played this game, how can you call yourself a gamer, basically? So it gives the younger video gamers that opportunity. But then we talked about these bundles of games where you have a collection of 3, or Metal Gear, which Legacy Collection. How many games was that total? Was that 6?
A lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. So that one for $40, that's like a heyday. That's like going on a summer sale spree on Steam. It's just like you're getting a lot for your money. But when we look at, in comparison to these platform collections, where it's like a trilogy, Gears of War 1, 2, 3. I think it's going to include the what? Judgment.
I'm not sure.
And that's coming out. That was announced at E3. Or let's look at God of War HD Collection. That was 3 games on PS3. Then we get now to the new generation where there's just 1 game, Devil May Cry 4 Remaster. I'm getting it because I never played it. The price point's $25, so that makes sense as far as it being 1 game. But then how do you justify, then at that point, you're valuing a game, on this weird rubric on like, okay, this is $25, but in reality, are you willing to say that all the other ones are $25? And then how do you make a Devil May Cry definitive collection if we can expect that eventually?
Well, I think naturally you would expect it to be more expensive on an individual standpoint. Otherwise, it wouldn't justify just buying the collection in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of price point is fine as it stands out. I mean, if you probably look for Devil May Cry 4, like usually retailers will soft lock their titles, those old titles at $20. Like sans the sales day, of course, but
yeah.
So the 25 you're looking at is really not that bad. Not to mention they do add things on top of it instead of making it a simple HD port, so to speak. Yeah,
because the adding more playable characters, that was like, wow, that's really cool. That's a feature that is new and added.
And I think, well, this probably goes to a different thing, but like, I'm personally excited for the Gears collection because that's gonna be on the PC, right?
Yeah.
So I can finally play those games without having to buy an Xbox. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is it's the remasters and the cross platform, the porting to the PC is definitely starting to make this whole console versus console war like obsolete, because now you don't necessarily have to have one anymore. A lot of the E3 titles were announced for both Xbox One and PC, Windows 10. And so this brings us to the next point, was what are some disastrous remasters that were done?
One of the few I can think of off the top of my head would be like the new Play Control series that they did for the Wii. Basically, they just took a bunch of those GameCube player choice titles, and then they changed it by just simply slapping the motion controls on it.
Oh.
And then they did ship it at a standard price point at $30. So if you compare it to Player's Choice's cap is soft locked at like $20 per title. So you're paying an extra $10 to get for the motion controls. So one of the few things that you can question about that would be, like, for instance, after all, the Wii was backwards compatible with GameCube.
Yeah.
So you basically are trying to consider, do I pay the 10 extra for the motion controls or not? Like some of the games, the motion controls did feel a bit more fluid, especially just being able to point at the screen rather than moving your control stick.
Mhm.
I feel like it does give you a little bit more control in that case, but it does seem pretty lazy at their point, since they've just been pretty much just reselling the same game.
Mhm.
And it's not even a different architecture too. I mean, in terms of visual fidelity, the Wii was pretty much on par with GameCube's graphics. So it wasn't as big of a leap anyway. So you really didn't see a graphical improvement. It was just purely
The motion controller?
controls.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow. So what usually would be fixed or added through an update or like a hot fix or like a huge massive firmware update, they put $10 above these like player's choice games and said, okay, here's the same exact game, but now optimized with the move, well, not the move controller, the Wiimote or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
My example, for me personally, is Final Fantasy VII on PS3. I think that was not a wise decision. Now, there's one aspect that makes sense. No one's gonna go out and buy a PlayStation 1. And they're rare. I mean, if you could find a secondhand shop, a pawn shop, or whatever that has one, maybe even a thrift store, you could pick one up. Finding the game's probably even harder for it. So having that available for PS3 players is good, but eventually the price dropped. I can't remember what the original price for it was, but it was a lot more expensive. Now I think it's like $5 or $6. I think you can probably get it on the store, on the PlayStation Store. But that's that brings us to a whole nother section where they just announced the Final Fantasy VII remake on the PS4, supposedly PS4, but we know how that goes. Well, The Last Guardian being a case in point, but
versus 13.
Versus 13, yeah. So my thing is, I would have much preferred them work on remaking Final Fantasy VII than porting it over to the PS3, because honestly it looks the same. We talked about them sharpening the lines, maybe messing with the color scheme and everything, and it is an upscale in a sense, but at the same time it's unplayable because it's like blocky polygon characters, PlayStation 1, and it really took away from my original experience. It was such a chore, and I was talking to David about this the other day, about it's getting harder and harder for me to go back 15, 20 years of video game history and pick it up and be like, wow, this is such a great video game and I'm having so much fun, when I'm honestly, because we're so spoiled today with the graphic fidelity, I'm having a hard time finding my damn character on the screen. And I'm like, wait, where the hell am I going? Am I up the stairs, down the stairs? Where the hell are the stairs? So to me, that was probably more of a personal bias, but that remaster just didn't do it for me. And they might as well just give it out for free, because of how, if you did find a copy of it, it was super dirt cheap. I'm trying to think of what are some other bad remasters. It's probably
you should see the Final Fantasy 8 HD that they ported to PC. They completely culled the soundtrack. Like everyone's just frustrated. It's like, what did you guys do to the music?
Oh man.
Yeah, and it took them a bit for them to actually send out the patch after before player feedback, but holy crap! It's like you really hit that nerve point on release.
There's actually this little nitpicky about how they remastered Final Fantasy X like 3 times now, I think, for the PS3 Vita and the PS4. I think the PS4 version had like a thing where every time you finish the battle, the soundtrack would reset, which apparently was not cool for the fans.
This goes back to the whole quality issue, is that, okay, we'll pay the money to replay the game on a graphics upscale on our current generation of platformer, but we're not always getting the same damn product. We're not always getting a quality out of the box ready to play product, and they rarely ever patch it and smooth it out. It seems on platforms. On PC, I know they do a lot more patchwork, and and they smooth things out a lot quicker on PC. But on the platform, you'll be stuck with a horrible remastered game where the graphics look good. A good point is Kingdom Hearts 1.5 where they ported it over. Graphics upscale was good and adequate for the PS3, but then in some of the scenes they still didn't like. There were some minor things they could have tweaked about the game, like moving the mouths, for instance. Like in a lot of the dialogue and stuff, you have like really static facial expressions and stuff, and you're like, well, if you're gonna push the engine, I mean, you might as well go in and actually tweak with the game, make it look more. But then you're talking about really going in. That's where
it's too much work.
That's too much. Yeah, that's too much cost. Basically,
it's like, why do that when we could just let's look at the game as like a bunch of files.
Yeah.
And all these are assets for the models. So this is your standard definition model on this file.
Yeah.
We'll just make an HD version of it. So really crisper textures, same name. All they do is take all those assets, overwrite.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, let's ship it out. That's basically your HD versions in a nutshell. And then oh man, when you brought up ports, like don't get me started on ports, man. Like ports to PC is like apparently an art.
We just talked about this with Arkham City working great on yours, and then that horrible crash with the optimization on my computer. So
dude, that's why Steam's got a refund system. Like if it comes to it, like honestly, just do it.
Yeah.
But I think you can fix it. But
this brought up Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. So a handheld handheld port basically. I guess it would be remastered because it is HD. It's the same damn game. They didn't add anything to the game. But $60, and you know the $60 was because of the damn Final Fantasy 15 demo. Don't get me wrong. I've paid the damn money for the demo. It was worth it, but at the same time, it's like I have dead weight of a game here. I try to play it. It plays like a handheld. I feel like I'm playing the PSP when I'm playing it. I'm like.
But they did. I think the graphics did definitely get way better than the.
It doesn't make up for the blocky ass gameplay.
Those graphics, though.
I don't. This is.
You could have just bought the code for that.
I could have bought the code. You're
That's
right.
what I did.
My goodness, it sounds just like you know that they're trying to sell the remake of Fudge. What's the name of that movie? I'm trying to remember the original. The original one had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. I'm trying to remember the title.
Commando?
No, the sci-fi movie.
6 Day?
No.
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
There you go. Yeah.
They try. So the remake for Total Recall is totally flunked in. And the only way they could sell it on Blu-ray was that they offered demo codes for God of War 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Like, they slapped that shit all over the box. It's hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah, that's pretty much Sony trying to do some damage control here. But I can't believe you guys fell for that hype. You really paid $60 for a demo?
Yeah, I did. David didn't. He paid, what, $15?
Yeah.
Yeah, he paid $15. I actually was interested in Type 0, but when I actually got through the first level, I was like, wow, this game, like, it's not, the gameplay is not broad enough to be put on a platformer. Like, it's really not. You play it, and controls real simplistic. You know, you just sit there, hold like one button, and then just like tap the whole time.
Well, what was Type 0 originally released on?
PSP.
PSP, yeah.
PSP, No, that's interesting to say, because the way you're describing it made it sound more like a mobile game.
I think it was supposed to be on the mobile, and then they put it to the PSP.
And it's like hack and slash, or it really tries its hardest to be there. But we can review Type 0, but it'd be a waste of time because it would be like 2 out of 10 for me.
The bottom line is Square Enix got your money.
Yeah, Square Enix got my money. Yeah,
That was it.
and hopefully they use that money for the Final Fantasy VII remake. That's what I'm hoping for. But it'll probably just go to someone's like cheeseburgers on their vacation or something.
Like I hope for their like description or definition of a remake, what they like feels like a completely different game, but they just use the same storyline. Yeah,
and this Final Fantasy VII is ambitious. I mean, if you take any of the early Final Fantasies, period, it would be an ambitious project to really like overhaul that and really bring it up to scale. I couldn't even imagine, but yeah, I mean, I don't think remasters are going anywhere. I think they're going to be in every generation. There's going to be multiple remasters of the same collections.
Imagine the Assassin's Creed remaster.
Oh gosh.
Woo! What is that, like 20 games?
Assassin's Creed remaster.
That would
the
be like
stack is like this big. It's like a damn encyclopedia like series.
But we know Ubisoft won't do that. Ubisoft will do Assassin's Creed 1 remastered, $40.
Oh god. Okay, I won't get that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not gonna give you the Creed collection. I just doubt that. Like they just love their Assassin's Creed. The only time they felt that mercy was when they included the first Assassin's Creed for I forgot which entry.
I can't remember either.
But
they did have a collection, didn't they?
That's a mini. It was
like for Ezio, right?
Yeah, it's the Ezio collection, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just for because it was pretty much Assassin's Creed 2, and then it's like a different part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought of those giant books, like for DVD collections, or the box set of TV series, like the season, every seasons, and I was like, man, that would be horrible for Assassin's Creed. It looked like the Friends collection, but yeah, I mean, any afterthoughts? I'm neutral as far as remasters go. I've personally bought into remasters, so. I can't be totally against them. Remasters are cool because for lazy people like me that don't want to hunt down all the games, it's consolidated into one. I'm like, all right, depending on if I love the title, which is only a handful of titles for me, I would get them. So I see the bad part of them, and I see the shift, like the misfocus basically of studios when they just keep pumping out remasters, and I'm like, well, I really want you guys to just come together and make a new game. Like, that's fine if you're trying to,
Well, that's why they hired just a bunch of interns to do it.
Yeah.
And usually it's a beta team. Just like how Bloodborne was pretty much a beta team. The alpha team is actually the one working on Dark Souls 3. So
this guy. There it is.
That's what matters at that point. Thanks for beta testing PS4. But yeah, so remasters, good or bad, you
decide.
Yeah, basically you decide.
Yeah.
What kind of value do you see in this remaster? Is like, oh, these games, or do you want to be a collector? Is a $40 price point like sexy to you? Like, I guess this is up to the consumer.
Top with your wallet.
So thanks for watching, guys, and if you like what you see, what you hear, go ahead and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Heroic Enemy. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and leave us a comment and give us ideas for material you'd like to see, and we'll do our best. Heroic Enemy out.
Yeah, so we had this discussion going on about how video game remasters are being like on the rise, like with the announcement of Uncharted collection and whatnot, and it got us thinking, like, what the hell, man, about remasters?
What the hell's wrong with you?
What? I'm tired of him.
Gosh, both of you, damn it. God. The sunglasses, really?